everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Grapevine. I am Riham.
I'm Susan.
I'm Susie.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Father Bishoyl Anthony. He's from St. Anthony Monastery in Ritzi in Egypt, and he's the managing director of CYC Worldwide. Thank you, Abuna, for being with us.
It's a blessing to be with you.
Okay. Today we're going to revisit a topic that we have talked about before regarding the youth in the diaspora. We are discussing regarding the children and the youth life inside and outside of the church. Abuna, tell us a little bit about, from your experience, the issues that the youth deal with.
So, as you know, that I go around the world 2-3 times a year, and with God's grace, I could be able to visit 98 or 99, more than 98% of the churches of the Coptic Church everywhere, from New Zealand to the end of the world, everywhere. And I've seen that I feel so sorry for our youth. They are under pressure in these countries, and those who are just came a few years ago, like 4, 5, even 10 years, they are in more pressure because they don't know what they are. They're Egyptian or they are Americans.
Yes.
Even those who are born here, still their roots are Egyptian, and the culture they grow up in, Egyptian culture. So, and they face the Western culture, and I feel so sorry for them. They're tortured. They don't know what they are and what they go with. So the youth, they choose their group. Some of them, they start to know Arabic more and more, to be involved in the Egyptian culture and to understand what is going on around them. And those are very rare. And even they keep learning hymns and say songs and stuff like that. Even they don't understand, but they try to prove themselves among Egyptian culture, which it is in the church sometimes, and this is not good, because sometimes they stop and say, what I'm doing, why I'm doing that, and they leave everything. And I've seen hundreds of them around the world. They became atheists, they left the church, they left Christianity, they left themselves, because they are against themselves. Why I put myself into that for all these years?
They kind of lost sight.
Yeah. The other group is that in the middle, which it is taking from that and into more English, and they understand the church and the spirituality in the church, and they are sometimes okay, sometimes down, and they are not very strongly, and they are the majority. The other group, which is the last one, is those who are very spiritual. They learned from their parents all the spirituality about the church. They attach to the church so much, and they love the church as it is, and they grow up in a very spiritual way, which makes them nuns and monks and priests, which the bishops around the world, especially in the United States, choosing among them to be, and in Australia too, choosing from them to be leaders and priests in their churches. So this is the 3 kind of people, youth you will find around the world, and we are the one who make them to which group they will be in.
So we kind of like direct them to, or guide
in
them.
a way or another.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I think your perspective's pretty spot on, especially for the ones that are not born in Egypt. I myself, I was born in New York, in the United States, and I always felt this is the way I felt. I feel that I'm too Egyptian for the Americans, but too American for the Egyptians. So it's like you're caught in the middle, and there's not too many people that feel that way, that you have that group. So you're kind of torn, and then you end up going towards more of the American because you're born here and that's the language, that's your native tongue. So
Are you first generation?
I'm first generation,
Yeah, so
yes.
am I. Yeah, and it is that you couldn't have said it better with the groups of people, because that's exactly like I fit right into that, and I can honestly say like it's so I'm born here, raised here, but my parents, of course, born, raised there, right? And so it's hard because there's this perspective where you can't, they can't relate necessarily 100% to what we're going through here, right? And some of the challenges that we face. And
Yes.
and I will say that like I feel like sometimes they refer to our generation as the lost generation, because it is, you're really divided. You're going to school a certain way, and then you're going to church, and unless it's like really truly part of your life and your parents are still immersing you into it, it's really easy to lose sight of it.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
And then I also see too, like with the Egyptians who, just like you said, 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of Egyptians started coming into the United States, and I absolutely see that lost piece, and I feel like I see it even more with their kids. Because they, I'm sure there's that guilt or feeling of like, I took my family from Egypt to here. It was a big move, very hard on my children who were there. And it almost seems like they go very extreme the other way with like spoiling them and trying to give them all this freedom and not realizing the dangers that can be in there.
Yeah, you're right.
So how do we keep the balance between of fitting in with our friends without losing our spirituality, where we're fitting in to both groups with our Egyptian culture and then also with the American culture, but we don't want to lose our spirituality? How do we find that balance? What's the best balance? Because not all of us are going to be nuns, not all of us will be bishops, not all of us will be priests.
We have to come out of Egyptian culture completely and American culture completely and stick to Christian culture.
Right.
What Christianity wants us to be and what God wants us to be. And yes, with the American, I love them so much, and I disagree with most of their doing, but still I respect them. And I have to be a light in the darkness. I have to show others the way to God. And with other culture, which is Egyptian culture, I respect the culture, but it's not my culture. And nobody can force me to have Egyptian culture, to eat basal akhdar, and I mean stuff which it is not mine at all. I mean, we have to respect very much the culture of our youth. Why we push kind of stuff which it is not theirs at all. And you find the parents are pushing hard for their kids to learn Arabic, for example. Why? What for? Yes, to learn Arabic as a second language, like I learn Spanish. Yes, well, why not? And the kid himself has to understand why he is learning Arabic and the benefit of being learning. And this is not to deal with each other, but to understand. And maybe one day after your university, you will use it in your work. So it's very good to be bilingual and have a lot of languages, and this is one of them. But pushing them, I imagine that I go around the world, and I found every mom and dad, they're proud of their kids, and they said, come, my beloved one, tell Abuna the song which you know. Tell Abuna the hymn which you know. And you find the kid saying or singing. He doesn't know what he's saying. He cannot understand what he's saying, either Coptic or Arabic. But he's saying it and singing it. And I didn't find anyone, any mom. She said, come, my beloved one, tell Abuna how much you love Christ. Tell Abuna how you cannot live without Christ. Tell him how that God in your life, and you cannot live even in one step in your life without him. So it's completely different to teach our kids our culture, either Arabic or Egyptian or American, or to teach them how to live with God in any culture.
Right.
So this is the point. We are not talking about culture. We are talking about our kids has to go to heaven. Look, the church has to think like that. The servants has to think like that, and the parents has to think like that. If we lost the goal of being our kids towards heaven, we are losing a lot. We'll not find. I want you to think about the Coptic Church after 50 years in the diaspora, as you said, or in the Western countries. What it looks like. Do you think they will keep getting lottery forever? They will stop it one day.
Right.
And Egyptian culture will go away. And even those who are like us, like me, and those who are leaders, either in the church or whatever, they will go away. And those who are still young, they will take over. Are we thinking about that? Are we thinking ahead and see that many churches lost their kids because they tried hard to impose their culture, their own culture in their countries? And I can't say the names of the churches, but I know churches, they just sold the churches because they don't have a congregation.
Oh, wow. That is sad.
So, Abuna, can I just play the devil's advocate here? So, from a different perspective, just that point that you just brought up, what's the church going to look like in 50 years if we keep pushing our kids to stick to the Egyptian culture? What would it look like if we don't? Is it going to stay Coptic? Is it going to not be Coptic at all? Are we going to take away the Coptic part and just be English only? Are we still going to use the same hymns and same prayers? Because this is something that we've inherited over 2,000 years.
No.
And I really like it, and I really don't
really
want
do.
to lose it.
No,
I'm
look,
one of the people I don't want to lose it.
you have to know that, as I said, we are teaching our kids Christianity,
Yes.
not culture.
Yeah.
I myself, I don't care if they speak English or Hindu. I don't care. All my care that this kid has to go to heaven. So in respect of all the cultures of the world, in respect of our own culture, yeah. But if you give, we are on CYC, we have lessons in Coptic language.
Yes.
We teach people Coptic language. You can take it as hieroglyphic language because it's out of Demotic. So it's an ancient language which anybody can learn. And a lot of people around the world, historian people, they learn hieroglyphic and how they read hieroglyphic and Coptic. And they study Coptic very much. So it's one of the languages that they can study. But we cannot force them to pray in Coptic.
Right. No,
We cannot, because
I'm not for forcing anybody to do anything.
you are preserving your culture and losing your kids. What is the benefit?
Exactly.
No, that's not.
I feel
that's
so
definitely
strongly
not
about
the
this
goal.
one. So it reminds me of something that happened regarding this topic in a Sunday school in one of the churches. So my son, he's 6 years old. I walked in during the Sunday school and they were praying Our Father in Arabic. And I'm sitting here and it was literally breaking my heart because I know that he doesn't understand what they're saying. Meanwhile, I want him to love the church. I want him to grow in the church. I want him to feel included, that those are his friends and those are the youth he's going to grow up with. And he's sitting there staring at the wall because he doesn't understand what they're saying. So, I get, and it's no disrespect to Arabic and it's no disrespect to Coptic, but the point is we shouldn't become parrots. Why am I saying words that are not benefiting me spiritually? So, I don't believe that, if we lost the Arabic or the Coptic in our church, we'd stop being the Coptic church. Coptic means we're Egyptian. Fantastic. Right. But who cares in the end? We want to go to heaven. So we lose the Christianity piece. And I think a lot of times people confuse the tradition and the all of that with the spirituality.
The confusion is it comes that they mix like they put it into a blender and they mix a kind of culture with faith. And they came with new thing that more culture than faith. So we have to be careful, and either in our churches or in our homes also, to, yes, I can teach my son anything, but I should be sure 100% that they are understanding everything. Even in the church, they have to understand why Abuna is moving from this side, not that side. Right. Why he is carrying the censer in his hand, and why he is raising the incense. Why he is doing that while he is blessing the people. They have to understand everything. So I like so much the churches that they stop and explain for the kids and for the congregation what they are doing.
Yes.
Because if you see some people, they grow up in the church and they don't understand anything of the ritual of the church.
I agree with that as well. It's so funny, everything you're saying is just so spot on how I grew up, because I didn't understand how our church operated at all until I attended Catholic Church. I went to a Catholic church and then I saw the order that they do everything, and I was like, oh, so that's what our churches do. Even though there's difference in liturgy, in their mass and our liturgy, there's so many things that are like with their readings and what they're doing that I started to realize, okay, our church is similar to that, or the liturgy is similar to that. But for at least 30 years, I didn't know what was going on in our church. I didn't even know how to say the creed until I was 35. So, because everything was in Arabic when we were young, so I didn't understand. I would go to church and go to sleep or just daydream because everything was in Arabic. Or I couldn't even tell the difference between the Arabic and the Coptic.
But I also wanted to tell you that a lot of people who are born and raised in Egypt and learn to go to Coptic churches in Egypt for many, many years, they grow up without understanding any of what's going on. They just do it because it's a habit. So I don't think it has to do with the language.
No,
but I didn't know that. I thought everyone in church did know.
No,
That
is not true.
I'll tell you something very important. Complaining is always there. So those who are in Egypt, they're complaining there is some Coptic. And those who are in America, they're complaining there is some Arabic and Coptic. So it has to be some complaint. And if you pure English, you'll find some come and say, it's all in English, there is no Coptic at all. Where is our culture? So somebody has to complain, and we understand that. But we have to be not selfish, not think about ourselves. We are already Orthodox. We grow up in this church very well, and we have a very strong faith in our hearts. And I'm sure that God will direct us to heaven by a way or another. What about our kids, or our children, grandchildren, what they will do? They have to understand everything. They have to understand every word, either in the liturgy or anything in the church. So when they sing, they have to understand what they're singing in. And even we can explain for them and for the whole congregation everything, even a little things, like sometimes the tune of the hymns, it's completely different from their culture. I cannot forget that those kids, they were listening to music, and all the music around them, even in the train, in the supermarket, in the mall, it's completely Western. A very fast rhythm. I can't all of a sudden catch them and said, can you hear me? Yay, yay. It's nonsense. If I want to do that, I can, but under one condition. I explain clearly why I'm doing that and why this tune is taking longer and it's not fast.
Because everything has a meaning. I mean, even the way these rhythms and tunes were made, it has a reason.
Right.
There's an explanation behind it.
And there is a spirituality behind it.
Yes, absolutely.
But because we don't teach that, so we can't teach the first one. If I will not teach the explanation, sorry, you have to stop teaching me a song or a hymn without teaching me or telling me you have to sing by this way, and you didn't even bother yourself to explain why I'm doing that.
I completely agree with you, Abuna, on this. I really am a firm believer of if something is not being understood or taught clearly, we have to teach it clearly. But that doesn't mean we take it out. So if the Coptic hymns are not being fully understood by the children, we need to explain it to them,
Right.
but not take it out.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
And actually, in St. Mark's Festival this summer, actually explained that for the high school kids anyway. The book explained, at least for our diocese, why we take so long to sing certain hymns, and it's so that we meditate on the words that are coming before. Where we're thinking over on the words while someone is saying eh, we're actually rereading over and over until it sinks in. I mean, I just learned that this year, so
Yes.
But I still
learning that.
disagree though, like with the Coptic piece of it. I really do, because I mean I love Coptic, I really do, but I think that we'll lose future generations because okay, I get that, you know, we should teach them the Coptic and then they'll understand. Well, how about the ones that just come to the church and they don't know Coptic?
We said the vice versa. We didn't say that. We said we teach them the meaning, then we teach them the hymn.
right,
Not the hymn, then the meaning.
right.
But what if they come to church and we haven't had the chance yet to teach them the meaning? So we're going to lose them for that, you know, the time before they learn the meaning.
So are they like coming rarely, or is it just?
I'm
their
just
first
saying-
Came when they're older, you mean?
I'm just saying, when somebody comes into our church,
For the
are
first
they
time.
going
Like
to
somebody
spiritually
who's
benefit?
American or?
Anybody who doesn't know the meaning.
But
is
you
what
have
I'm
to
saying.
understand that
Yeah.
when I went last week, I was in Armenian church. They didn't sing in English. They sang everything in
Their language.
Armenian, and we were happy. We didn't understand anything, but I was with others Coptic attending the wedding, and just nice. It's nice. It's nice.
I
But
love
is it
it.
spiritual?
It's very spiritual, like
It's good.
like the Coptic. I mean, what is the difference?
Right.
And if you go to the Greek Orthodox, you will hear everything in Greek,
Right.
and the people are there attending. So we have to understand that sometimes we cannot delete or completely things, unless this church we built it for Australian people, for American people, and we invite them to that church. And actually, all our churches has to be mission churches, not only one.
But how are they mission churches if they're singing in Coptic?
Because we are not getting them into mass directly. If you want to invite one of your friends, you have to invite her for a Bible study.
Yeah.
They're not saying Bible study in Coptic.
On Arabic, yeah.
So you get them gradually to love the church,
Right.
not facing of a sudden.
The 4-hour liturgy.
Yeah. So you know, like if you invite me to a church that, let's say, Indian, I walk in, I don't expect that I will understand everything. I actually expected that this is a new experience for me, or else why am I here? So I think that the person who's coming from the outside, a lot of the times are more open-minded than
Yes.
us.
Yes. You know,
Yeah, but I'm talking now about our youth. What the youth in that dilemma or that scenario.
I think the youth are closed-minded anyway because we're in such a fast-paced world.
Yeah, and another thing, that the pressure, they're under pressure, which you don't expect at all. So they're not in love with the church. No, I'm so sorry to tell everyone, don't be naive. Your kid hardly to love the church and God. And he's fighting a lot to get into that point.
Yes.
So don't put more obstacles in front of their way to heaven. This is nonsense. We have to think seriously. I don't know how. I'm not telling you now
You don't have the
how,
answer, right?
but I'm telling leaders to think. Are you gonna die just for language or culture, or are you gonna die just to get one to Christ?
Yes.
This is our goal. Either parents or leaders or whoever, we have not to be selfish. Think about this kid. Even there is one only in the church, we might lose him. Jesus ran after that one.
Yes.
and he left the 99. So I'm not thinking about the 99 who are in the church. I'm thinking about the one can get lost at any time. We have to do our best. For example, about youth and the kids. Until today, the servants, they go, I'm not sure you are servants or not, but they go and they give lectures to the kids and to the children in high school and in the church, giving them a lesson. Who are you to give them a lesson? They are better than you, and they know better than you, and they can ask Mr. Google about anything. They will know better than you, and they can search better than you. So I'm so sorry. You are still doing the same thing like I myself over 60 years I was doing. Why? Why you're doing that? Now everyone in the media, social media, we talked another episode about that. So why we don't use that for our classes? Audiovisual, it's very important.
Right.
I go to every church and I said, guys and the servants, we have around 7,000 videos for CYC over in the internet, and you can find it on YouTube. Why you don't take any topic and show to your youth and your kids anything?
It'd be more engaging, probably.
Yeah.
Have a discussion about
And the best part about on CYC, like you guys don't censor really anything. Like any topic is not, too controversial to talk about. And it's like instead of pretending those things don't exist, it's actually covered on a lot of the channels or the episodes of CYC.
We've had one of our youth actually talk to me about an episode or a show that he saw on CYC about the Australian gay marriage vote, what's going on, and he loved it. He's like, it was amazing, it's so good. So I was very happy to see that our youth is visiting the CYC channel and watching the shows on it.
Yeah.
And they're engaged by it, and they are really great as visual aids. We use some of Abuna Anthony's sermons for our Sunday school classes. We haven't done it in a while, but we used to kind of take it and condense it and edit it and kind of give them some of the points that Abuna Anthony's. And they enjoy watching it. They enjoy him because he's very American. He speaks English and he's funny and he makes jokes. And
I think you have to speak the language of the youth.
Yes.
Is what it is.
Yeah. So I'm thinking even in the church they have to think about the future of the church, the future of our kids, and the parents also has to think seriously about the future. The church cannot help by itself.
Right. Yes.
So the church is just, I believe the church is 10%, 15% maximum, and the parents and the house is say 40%. So all in all is 60,
65.
and 40% is the school and the community they're in.
That's scary.
So the 60% is fighting with 40, the pressure of 40. And the 40
That's
is very
significant.
strong.
That's significant.
And I think it's very accurate too.
Yes.
And if the parents are lacking, then we're losing.
Yeah. So they have the parents with the church together. If the church and the parents are divided and everyone has his own opinion, that means 40% will be against 10% and against 20 or 30% by itself. So we'll lose.
We will lose, yeah.
So we have to be careful and work side by side with the church to get our kids into the right path.
So Abuna, when we kind of talk to the kids about other controversial issues that they deal with, such as boyfriend or girlfriend, or why we prevent them from having this where it's allowed in their peers and the schools, what's the best way to present a subject like that to them or talk to them about it?
The first thing that you have to start presenting that while they're still 6 years old and 7. Don't wait to 18 age, because it will be too late.
Right.
So it's from early age, you can talk about that and tell your kid that we are unique.
Yes.
And we are in the opposite way of the world. We are not, we're not against the world, but we are against the action of the world. We are not against the sinners, but we are against the action of the sinners. So the deeds itself we don't like.
Yeah.
Why? Because Jesus will never be pleased with such thing. So if you are thinking how to please God, this is all what I want you to do.
Yeah.
Do you think this will please God? And do you think that you will keep your purity? Now, there are American, and you can dig in the internet, I can find a lot for you. You'll find some people, they're celibate, and the youth, and they gathered together and said, they have a ring, and they said, we'll never touch. No kiss, no hugs, no touch. Friends, yeah, in groups, not individual.
Right.
So if those who are born here, and they're pure American, and they're thinking like that,
Yes.
what about us Christian, real Christian from a very strong root of Christianity? We have to be more.
Right.
So if you teach your kid that he is or she is unique,
And different.
And
There's
different.
nothing wrong with being different.
yeah,
Yes.
why not?
Right.
So I am different. I'm a daughter of the King of Kings. Not everyone like me.
Yes.
Right.
It's very
So I have to be proud of myself, and I will not hide that. I'll be proud of I believe in something, and you can see that sometimes those who are believing nonsense or believe in bad stuff, they are very proud of themselves. What about us?
Right. That's true. That's a very good point. They don't mind flaunting
Yeah.
that, so
And they fight for it.
they do. Yes,
Even
we're seeing that in the
politically
courts.
until they
Yes.
actually win.
Exactly. They fight hard, and we kind of just sit back and hide our message sometimes.
Yeah, in Australia nowadays it's going on voting for same-sex marriage, for example. And anyone, and the companies, the big companies, they force their employees, even the very Christian people, to put a sign for yes. And if they put a sign for yes, they will fire them.
Oh.
Not
they
because of that. They will not say because of that, but anything else. He's not fit in the community.
Right.
He's not good at his work.
If he refuses to wear the sign that says yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have to wear it.
Wow. That's a lot of
It's
pressure.
torture. And when I came to the radio and I was talking, I said, guys, I'm not talking about same-sex marriage because I don't care. I don't care. They are there since ever and nothing happening. And I care about what is my right as Christian. Why you are taking my rights? Everyone has rights. Everyone.
Yes.
And when it comes to Christianity, they have no rights. Are you working with devils?
Right.
Say we are devils.
Just be
Don't
honest.
say we are human rights and equality. And when it comes to us, there is no human rights, no equality, nothing.
That's very accurate, Damuna.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
really how I
it is.
personally feel sometimes.
Definitely.
Right. So yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem for us today, and that's a problem for our youth. And when our youth grow up, it's going to be a bigger problem for their children.
So you have to
So it's
tell
a-
your children to be strong
Yes.
and stand for their cause and fear nothing. And they have to tell their opinion in front of anybody.
Yes.
They have the rights. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Abuna. It was great. It was a pleasure having you, and it's definitely a very hot topic.
Yes, the
So,
never-ending
I
battle.
personally enjoyed it.
I did
Thank you
too.
so much.
Yes, thank you.
It was a
Luna.
blessing to be with you guys.
Thank you.
The blessing
Our
is ours.
blessing.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.